Good afternoon, as well as good evening or good morning to our international attendees. I'm Stephen Abrams, Head of Digital Preservation at the Harvard Library, and I'll be speaking to you today about an ongoing initiative for policy-driven tiered storage for cost and curatorially effective preservation. The twin goals of this initiative are to maintain critical continuity of care for stewarded digital content while pursuing both necessary and aspirational service function enhancements. The timing of this effort was dictated by our long-standing policy of a 5-year refresh cycle for all storage media and infrastructure, which has now entered the final year of its planned service life. In addition to replacing aging hardware and satisfying anticipated capacity requirements, we're using this opportunity also to supplement existing storage options, increase curatorial flexibility, and lower costs. Our preservation services operate on a partial cost recovery basis, charging back to individual library collection owners for consumed storage capacity. Any movement towards lower pricing goes a long way towards reducing financial impediments to more widespread adoption of central preservation services. This is particularly pertinent right now, given the many new budgetary pressures arising from our institutional response to the COVID pandemic, a situation that I'm sure is familiar to all of you. Given the history, size, breadth, and depth of the university's collections, we consider our storage utilization relatively modest so far. These graphs illustrate the steady, if not occasionally ominously exponential growth over the last 20 years in the number and size of digital objects and files under proactive management. Currently, some 2.3 million objects, 110 million files, and just under half a petabyte of storage, single copy, 2 petabytes replicated. However, given collection development aspirations across the 60-odd curatorial units of the Harvard Library, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. For example, a campus-wide survey back in 2018 revealed that we hold over 390,000 audiovisual media items, all aging and much at significant risk. Prior to March, we were moving ahead with an aggressive plan for mass digitization that would, if and when fully realized, contribute over 6 petabytes of new content for preservation stewardship. While the timing of this work is now in question, our intention to start it and complete it is not. And this is just one example of new content streams that we're anticipating in future. Given the imminent prospect of order of magnitude increases in storage demands, we feel it is important to exploit the potential for aggressive automation of storage management. Consequently, we're moving towards a managerial regime of automated disposition of newly accessioned material based upon its curatorial classification. Under this scheme, expressed curatorial needs will be algorithmically matched with appropriate storage characteristics. Through this, we believe that we'll achieve substantial minimization of costs and maximization of the productive use of finite resources, particularly staff time and infrastructural capacity. More specifically, we're trying to address a number of key requirements, including affordability in terms of both capital and operational costs, efficiency and sustainability, especially with regard to IT footprint, power, and cooling demands, flexibility of storage deployment and content disposition, resiliency against data loss or damage, input and output performance, security especially for sensitive materials, and transparency of operation. It is also important that we can support a smooth migration pathway into the new environment and enable an eventual smooth succession pathway out of it. Finally, we want to permit better alignment of curatorially derived storage needs with the technical characteristics of various storage solutions. Right now, all content is somewhat rigidly replicated 4 times, independent of curatorial desire, technical necessity, or consideration of cost. For some content items, this may not be enough replication. For others, this is clearly too much. More flexibility in this regard is therefore highly desirable. Towards that end, we've defined various distinguishing categories into which all content items are designated by curatorial authority. These include sensitive content, as defined by the university's information privacy policy, outsourceable content, suitable for external, low-cost, low-effort hosting, deliverable content for items intended for patron request and retrieval, computational content for items intended for processing in the university's high-performance computing clusters, basic content for items determined to be of low, or perhaps more appropriately, lower value, large content, that is over 5 gigabytes in individual file size, and baseline content, the catch-all category for everything not otherwise classified. The 3 categories marked with an asterisk, outsourced, computational, and basic, are newly defined, while the other 4, sensitive, deliverable, large, and baseline, are more long-standing. Their previous use has been mostly descriptive, and in particular, it does not drive dispositional decision-making or processing. The new outsourced hosting options will encompass both commercial as well as private academic cloud providers. Storage capacity is provisioned in terms of various storage pools, each an addressable system or service supporting a distinct set of pertinent technical characteristics. These distinguish, for example, between online, nearline, and offline operation, on and off premises and cloud location, sensitive and non-sensitive security controls, high versus low unit cost, higher-low unit density, high-low independence in terms of minimizing single points of correlated failure, higher-low performance, and higher-low reliability. The overall topology of the solution looks like this. Individual storage pools are co-located into aggregate storage nodes supporting key underlying characteristics by a particular hardware instantiation. Nodes are themselves characterized in terms of whether they host the copy of record, backup copy, computational copy, or access copy of any given item. The assignment of curatorial categories to pools and nodes is indicated in this diagram by the color coding, with the key given on the right-hand side. You'll notice reference to 2 repurposable categories that I haven't mentioned yet. These represent content items that can fulfill 2 simultaneous roles as both archival and deliverable representations. For example, JPEG 2000 images. The underlying disposition rules are easier to illustrate in tabular form. Here you see how content is automatically instantiated from 1 to 4 times to fulfill various purposeful functions. The disposition is driven by associated categorical designation that in turn is based upon curatorial assessment of value, preservation assessment of risk, and budgetary considerations of cost. Enforcement of these disposition policies is dynamic, recognizing that the various classification appraisals may freely change, move up and down over time in response to changing conditions or needs. The system periodically examines classification tags and triggers appropriate rebalancing of replicas as necessary to conform to policy rules. Here in another view, you can see the distribution of the replicas across the 11 pools, highlighting the functional purposes of the various nodes as hosting copies of record, backups, and so forth. The design and implementation of the system is intended to facilitate streamlined addition of new pools, nodes, and disposition policies as changing circumstances dictate. Right now, we are evaluating responses to an earlier RFP issued for both storage hardware and data management and transfer software. The RFP was developed in concert with colleagues in library and central university IT, as well as research computing. By bundling together our needs and goals into a single procurement exercise, we will be able to leverage shared investment and shared infrastructure to achieve optimized procurement and operational economies of scale. We hope to make our final procurement decision by the end of the 2020 calendar year. Early in 2021, we expect to move quickly through installation and testing to begin the data migration of all retrospective material. This is estimated to require 2 to 3 months, which should still bring us to our provisional milestone rollout date in early Q1 of fiscal year 2021. That is, sometime in the July-September 2021 timeframe. To summarize, we feel that our new preservation storage approach of policy-driven tiered storage will minimize cost and operational complexity while increasing productivity and best allocating oversubscribed programmatic resources. Under its provisions for automated storage disposition based upon curatorial designation, every content item will be hosted in maximally appropriate conditions, but no more. This helps us to ensure the long-term stability and sustainability of our systems and services, as well as bolstering our relevance and accountability to internal and external stakeholders. The flexibility built into the system also should position us well for future expansion of evolving storage capacity and functionality needs and aspirations. With that, I will conclude and look forward to hearing your comments and addressing your questions. Thank you.